Good morning everyone, Jacques from Dapper Shaves. We're going to be performing another round video with this stone, so it's part of my show and tell on Japanese natural stones. This beauty here is a stone from the Nakayama mine in Japan. So typically stone descriptions, when you look at them, they'll tell you what mine it is, as an example, like Nakayama or Hira or something like that. Then they typically tell you the strata, so that's the layer in which you can find them from deep to shallow. This stone, if I'm not mistaken, is from one of the deeper layers. Isa, I think is how it's pronounced. Then the fourth thing they look at when it comes to stones is the appearance. So how it looks, the colors and so forth. So this stone is a Kiita. K-I-I-T-A. I'll put the descriptions down. And Kiita actually translates to yellow plate. So yellow coloring in the stone. It is something that is actually quite sought after via owners and so forth. And they can be quite hard, and as is the case with this one. So a natural stone comes out of the ground, they cut and chisel them out, get the pieces that's usable, and then put them down. These black markings on the stone is called Karusu, if I recall correctly, and it's one of the characteristics. Okay, so the razor we're going to be honing, you would have seen a video by now from the SK1 and the SK3 honing and shave videos. So here's the SK2. We're going to be honing it on this stone. Interesting though, you would see this razor has got looks like a brownish scales and black on this side. Now if you follow this channel, you would have seen something similar. ERN, brown scales, black at the back. Now my theory with this is these things were sitting in a window somewhere. It had direct sunlight, and the sunlight changed the characteristics of the plastic. So another butterscotch, this time Chinese razor. Japanese razor, definitely not Chinese. I've got some Naguras here on the side. A Tenju, a Mohiro, and a Koma. We'll be using that as a finishing. I've used this stone before, but a long time ago, so I need to maybe refresh myself, but we're going to fundamentally have the same approach we had with the Iwatani. Heavy matte slurry, get the bevel set, and then we are going to refine the edge to shave ready. This razor was also polished. I can't remember what the condition with this is. It has still got a bit of an edge on, so I don't think it's going to take too long to sort this out. I think before we start, let's quickly have a look at the edge. So old trusty cheap as Chinese microscope. So this is right at the rounding, and then this is at the heel where the edge is starting to form. So well defined, looks clean, no real issues. There's a chip. And then we get to the toe. Alright, so now that we know what it looks like. Let's heat up a slurry and get going. So diamond Nagura, so diamond plate used to create slurry from the stone. And when I said the stone is hard, you will see it takes a bit more effort to create slurry than with the Iwatani. I'll put a link up if you want to go and have a look at that. So typically, if Japanese, they would use a stone that is of the same piece of the mother stone or something very similar, and they call that a Tomo Nagura, and that's what they would be using to raise a slurry. I haven't got one for this, and I really actually like the diamond Nagura. You can really dial in just the stone's particles, abrasive particles, and then hone the razor. So I think this is nice. And yellow Kiita, yellow plate, I think that's becoming a lot more obvious. So this stone, if I can remember, was a medium fast cutter. So hard, but it's got nice cutting capabilities. We will see how this goes. Once again, this video is proudly sponsored by this channel's Patreon, his stone, and also his razor. So really thank you for that. I appreciate this, supporting the channel in the way you do, and giving me the experience to work with stones and razors, which I never else would get the opportunity to do so. So it's a massive privilege, really appreciate it, and yeah, that's it. Once again, I'm using quite a bit of edge biased pressure into the stone, and hopefully in the video you will see the black swarf in between this, in this yellow slurry, as we are working the edge. The chip, if I can remember, was here in the halfway towards the third quarter of the edge. So that's the area I'm just hitting slightly more. And it would be interesting to see how much progress we've made on that chip by the time we're done. This stone doesn't absorb water quite as quick as the Iwatani we used in the other video. So you will see in that video the mud becomes very, very thick quick, whereas this one retains a lot of the water, and it takes longer to become that thick mud. Having said that, I can't remember what the stone's cutting capabilities are with thick mud only versus a thinner medium. But as with most of these stones, for heavy lifting, the heavier and thicker the slurry, the better the cutting capabilities. So Karusu, these black things here, I think it translate to crows, or it looks a flock of crows, but obviously, it's just black markings. Some of these Karusu can sometimes be detrimental to a razor's edge. So not all Karusu is something that is valuable in a razor hone. But this one definitely does not have that capability, so this makes this stone even more special. I know this is the owner's favorite stone. He really likes working on this. It's got good feedback, but definitely not to the level that Iwatani produced, the one that does the Nakayama impression. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to rinse this blade, and then we're going to quickly have a peep at the bevel to understand if we've made any good progress and how much work is still required. That is quite a deep chip, so I'm quite convinced that we're not there yet, not even remotely. And maybe that's something I should have fixed on a diamond plate before we started, but I haven't even looked at this edge, as you guys would have come to realize. So, wet fingers, zoom in. Hello. Okay, so right at the heel, nice and clean. There's the chip. I've got to guess we've taken about half of it, and I must actually check. It's fundamentally straight slab bang in the middle of the edge, maybe slightly towards the heel. Where's the edge gone now? Hello. And so that's the rest of the edge, all the way to the toe. And depending on where your light source is, you can really see what's going on the edge. So that's looking good, but we still need to work on that chip. So I think I'm going to rinse this. Let most of the water run off, and then we're going to continue doing what we've been doing. I will likely only do the bevel set on this all the way to tree topping maybe, and then we'll have a separate video for finishing if required. I don't know how this is going to pan out, but if it's going to be 2 videos, I will release them on the same day. So again, nice thick mud, and I'm just going to get all of that off from the Diamond Nagura. And we're off to the races. So that chip sits fundamentally right about there, somewhere. We didn't really look at the spine. This razor head, I think, is still factory original edges on there because there's no hone wear on the spine. So that's awesome. This set, the SK1, 2, and 3 both have got very pronounced rounding on the toe points, which is quite interesting, but very difficult to get that bit sharp. And if you know me, you'll see I take the edges on the heel even further when they do it, but also on the toe, because for me those are the important bits of the blade, or they're just as important of the rest of the edge to get into the tricky spots. So here I'm really working the heel quite hard. I neglected that a bit, and I just want to refine that and take that edge slightly further. If you can get it all the way to there, that's very nice. These concaves, getting them into the difficult areas in your neck, really helps and makes a big difference. So you guys would have seen these cracks in the stone, but if they are flat and those edge cracks are not very wide, then that's obviously not an issue, because it's smooth and the razor will just glide over at the edge. If you don't like them, or if they are detrimental to the edge, then what I would do is I would fill them with a super glue, so that they get filled all the way to the top, and then as you use the razor and the stone and it wears, that will just keep smoothing off. These abrasive will get rid of that super glue very quick, and it's not something that's going to be detrimental to your edge. So this is paste, all paste. I mean, it's not even running. So I'm going to continue in this fashion. So I might actually upgrade the cutting speed of the stone, maybe not, but it seems to be cutting finer, or not finer, quicker than I can remember. And I think maybe partly that is because I don't like, no, I don't like is the wrong word. When I hone, I try and be as least aggressive as possible. You always see me go fine with everything. And so with slurry, I also want to have a slow working slurry. For me, that's a safe approach. And once you've got your skills a bit more under control, and you've got a very good idea of what the stone does, then you can go and increase things. There is no undo button with these things. Once you have removed the steel, you can't put it back. And so on that, you would know regular inspection is key. And that is what I'm going to do now quickly. Very nice and clean, and at first glance it would seem that the chip is also gone. So let's maybe quickly check that on the camera with 20 minutes in. I must apologize. I only now realized that this camera is still zoomed in all the way to 3. Apologies, peoples. So you can see the flakes in the liquid suspension of the abrasives in the slurry. And by now I'm quite sure we should have seen the chip. nice and clean all the way to this exuberant curve. So guys, I really apologize for not zooming the camera out, but I don't think we missed anything critical. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a lot more water, clean this razor off, because all the cutting, heavy cutting and lifting is done. So based on what I've seen now with that chip, I think I want to upgrade this razor's cutting capability from medium to quite high. And remember, this is a awasedo, so that is the Japanese word for a finishing stone. So this is not a pre-finisher or coarser stone. This is a razor finisher. So to have cutting capabilities on a very hard, very fine stone like this is, I think, a good find and a treasure, and that's why the guys pay big money for these stones. So I'm definitely enjoying the stone a lot more than I did the first time I worked with it. And this is all because I got a bit more educated, followed and listened to good advice from people that understand these stones. And so in that regard, I think we're going to have really, really good results. I know the bevel is set on this. We've seen it. So I think 21 minutes. Let's maybe call this halfway. I'm prepared to do a 40-minute video, so let's go and polish this edge up. Okay, so what we're going to do is, this stone's very fine. Let's quickly do a couple of strokes on Tenju, because I want to talk about Tenju. Tenju is heaven and sky, and so where that name comes from, when Iwasaki and Satomoto went into the mine and they started taking samples, Tenju was in the ceiling as you entered the mine. So that's where it comes from, heaven and sky, above them. Interesting. So I just wanted to mention that, and we're just going to do a couple of cleanup strokes with this. Also get an understanding and a feel for how it behaves on the stone. And what's interesting is, was the stone clean? I can't remember. Let's clean this off, yeah. And I'm going to use this Tenju's got a Kiita like in here, but this side's white. I'm going to just run the white side again, because this is well, I'll get to this shortly. So if the stone is a lot harder than I just made a mistake. The stone wasn't clean. So you will see the white slurry, which means this stone is a lot harder than this stone, and that's why when you rub them together, you get white. And this is also a process you would go and use to match stones if you want to get a toma. Or if you've got one stone with a known hardness and you want to compare it to something else, you would see which one's hurting the other one, which one's taking material from the other one, and which one's scratching the other one. So when I'm done with the honing show and tell of all the hones individually, I will take you through a process how I evaluate stones and what I look for. and also how I determine their polishing capabilities. And so once the bevel's set, when you start running these polishing strokes, then I said only a couple with tenju. Then lighten up on the pressure. You know, the work's done, it's now polishing. No more forceful stuff. Tenju. Next one is Mohiro, and that translates to white eye. White eye is actually a black little bird with white eyes or white rings around its eyes, found in Japan. And so that's where the name comes from. Mohiro, striped Mohiro, so this one's got a Kiita color to it. So in this case, if you had stones that were equally soft, you really wouldn't know where the abrasive particles are coming from, because they're similarly colored. Having said that, well, not really. I think this color is very close, maybe a tone or two lighter than the Kiita slurry. I'll go and have a look at the video when I'm done. And that's actually quite important, making video, even if it's just for yourself, because you can't always remember colors and looks and feels and what worked. So there is definitely a value in video recording and evaluation. I mean, it's something that's used in sport extensively. So why not in honing? And if you're learning, make a video and explain what you're doing, and then send it. If you're learning honing and you want to get some guidance, make a video and then send it to somebody you trust or knowledgeable that is prepared to help you and get the guidance. It's a very easy way of learning, I think. Somebody that does that quite well is Seth. He shares all his stuff. He's definitely not afraid to get something today, and as he opens it, takes it through the paces and learn and explain his experiences. Really, really awesome. What I'm going to do is reduce the slurry a lot, concentrate a bit more on the honing. And I'm quite sure this thing is already going to be tree topping at present state. And then I think if that is the case, then we can slowly start wrapping up. One thing about stones that's got different color characteristics in them and stuff like Karusu, so it hasn't got a homogeneous look to it. Once you've confirmed that those areas is not detrimental to the edge, then you can start working a razor on it. So what you need to be careful of is this part of the stone, the Karusu, and this area here all behaves differently. So it gives you a different feel. So be aware of that, so that, and see where the edge is cutting, so that you do not mistake those different subtleties in feel with something which you think is still on the edge. I hope that makes sense. So as an example, I must have exactly the same feel on this part of the stone, which is homogeneously the same, And so if I come here, you will feel it feels different, but it's not. It's just a slight difference in the stone abrasive, and there's actually, it's not the edge. So this is definitely not a stone for beginners. This is a stone for somebody that has got loads of experience and know what the stone does. So just a side note. At this point in time, I think this thing will tree top. And if not, then I think I'm going to wrap this video up, and then we'll do a part 2 on the final refinement and polish. So today I'm a bit more prepared, and I've got a little paddle strap just to give this a quick strap, and then I've still got a couple of hairs left, and here we go. So it definitely is tree topping quite nicely. So let's continue. I'm quickly going to rinse both razor and stone, and then we'll do coma. Here we go. This coma looks like a striped one. It's just because it's got this yellow casual lacquer on to protect it. You do get comas that are striped. I'm currently trying to see if I can't find one. Once again, the stone is cutting fine. Quick, and it's a fine stone, so I'm not going to put a lot of coma slurry on here. I'm just going to create a bit like this, and then we're just going to work it until there isn't anything left. And I will add some water as we go along. Really great sound from the stone, decent feedback, but not quite to that Iwatani levels. But I really know why this stone is somebody's favorite. It's fantastic to look at. Great to hone on, and it gives you amazing finishes. I have pulled my Japanese kitchen knives across the stone to check how it cuts shirugami. And this is really a versatile stone. So in the other video, you will know I would have said then, you know, if a stone's got this kind of capabilities and range, using Naguras and a diamond Nagura, then all you really need is a diamond plate to fix geometry issues, large chips, or resetting bevels. And then you can jump to this stone, run a heavy slurry, cut most of the bevel, do a Bouton, Tenju, Mohiro, and Koma, or just maybe a Tenju and Mohiro, and then you have got a shave ready razor. So I think this is very close. Very light strokes. And then we're going to rinse this razor. Give it a little strop and then look under the scope at the edge. I didn't really speak about the razor and why I like these razors. Let's quickly do that. First of all, this is an inch blade. It doesn't look like it, but it's the curve that does that. So this is an inch. It has got that heavy belly, and you can clearly see it, that ridge line there. You can clearly see where that belly line is, the thickness of that. And so that stability behind the cutting edge is what produces the power, stability. And then if you've got a good steel and a refined edge, there's very few things that shaves as close and efficient as one of these razors. So I want to just strap this on my shirt to get some of the water off. Let's have a look at this video. We are 40 minutes in, guys. Here I'm going to call it quits. I've shown what I needed to show, and then I'll go and strap this and see how it shaves. So the very extreme U, curved U. I'm just trying to get proper light. So the white stripes marks you will see is just still water and flakes. Let me quickly put this on the paddle strap. Hang on a second. I'm making life difficult for myself and I shouldn't. Just make sure I give it a half decent strap so that the edge at least shows a bit cleaner. Still some flakes on there. What I'll do is I'll go and strap this razor properly and make a separate image of the edge and then add it to this video. So guys, this was the Nakayama Kiita and the Saito SK2 owning video. I want to thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you in the next one soon, which is hopefully a shave video.